Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. Thank you for watching and listening. This episode is brought to you by Squirrel's Nut Butter. They make adventure anti-chafe lube and healthy organic restorative skin salve. I don't leave home without it when I go on an adventure. I think it's the best in the business, and I am proud to be an ambassador. So check them out at squirrelsnutbutter.com and use my code ENDURANCE20, all caps, for 20% off. This episode is brought to you by Embark Maple. It's just good energy for endurance sports. We've all been there, the dreaded bonk out on trail. And when that happens to me, I take a swig of this 100% organic and tasty maple syrup, and it brings me back to life. I'm so proud to be an ambassador and have them as a podcast sponsor. So check them out at embarkmaple.com and use my promo code EMBARK20 for 20% off. I want to let you know about a few different ways that you can support this podcast. First, you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. Get the word out for me. And if you find this podcast valuable and entertaining, you can become a YouTube channel member or a Spotify channel subscriber. So for only $2.99 a month, which let's be honest is like half the cost of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you can keep me going. And you also get some really cool perks like early access to new videos and now exclusive member-only ad-free episodes. Or if you don't want to add more subscriptions to your life, I totally understand. You can also support the podcast by giving a one-time donation using the YouTube Super Thanks feature. The links on how to do all that are always in the description, and I do want to take a minute to recognize and thank all of my current YouTube and Spotify members and all the people that have supported me on this podcast journey along the way. Thanks, guys. A quick note on this episode, it was filmed just before the 2025 Pinyons and Pines Bikepacking Race Grand Depart, where Gregg decided to throw down, and he rode 48 hours with zero sleep to take third place overall. So congratulations, Gregg, on that amazing effort. Today's returning guest is a filmmaker and bikepack racer whose journey has taken him from the suburbs of Texas to the heart of California's creative scene. He's a lifelong artist who started out in music production, working in professional studios before shifting into storytelling through documentary filmmaking. His latest project, Hidden in Plain Sight, is available now on YouTube and blends environmental awareness, personal narratives, and regional history into a compelling documentary set against the backdrop of a rugged bikepacking journey through the American West. He is an incredibly inspiring human, and I'm honored to call him my friend. I'd like to welcome back to the podcast, Gregg Dunham. Yeah, dude, these are my my irony sunglasses, I call them.
Irony.
Because it's not like they make pit vipers in the United States anyway. And they're knockoff pit vipers.
Yeah,
they're ichthyods, so they're like one additional level
That's even better.
They're
not actually
irony.
pit vipers.
No, because I'll just burn through them. I had these in Colorado, actually.
There's a place on the Arizona Trail that I rode when I first did the Coconino in 2016. There's a shooting range like right on the Arizona Trail. Do you know? Is that like right around here?
On the 300?
No, by Flagstaff, because coming off the Coconino, like the historic Coconino route, we're kind of like this year's almost very similar to the very end of this year's Pinyons and Pines. It kind of hits the northern end of that Arizona Trail. It came down. Anyway, I just remember
Shooting range. Oh.
I remember a big old shooting range, and it might not have been the Arizona Trail. It might have been another trail, because I don't know. It was 2016.
It must be. There's like cinder pits out here.
Okay.
Where people go shooting.
There is no. It just you can shoot anywhere.
Yeah, right. You can just go out. Yeah, dude.
That's not the case in California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could just go out to the cinder pits and bring your weapons.
Shoot
and shoot
stuff.
Dude, one time I was doing a class with a bunch of Dutch students. I was like a teacher's assistant with a bunch of Dutch students. And I was like, let's give you the real American experience. And I have a bunch of guns. And so I was like, let's go shooting, because Dutch people typically, like, they haven't even ever touched guns in their entire life.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
And so I'm like, I'm not wanting everybody to get shot. So we do like a pretty quick little training course. But, you know, I have them shoot like a handgun and a shotgun, and they like couldn't believe what was happening, dude. And just the fact that you could like take it out. I mean, so Arizona's a constitutional carry state too.
Oh,
so
my God.
you can literally have a concealed weapon in your vehicle, and that's legal.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. And that changed. It became a constitutional carry.
I feel like after I left Texas became the same. I mean, I remember going on a lunch like date with like a boss.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, all right, we're going to go to the shooting range. And I was like, we're going to the shooting range? It's like, okay, let's go shoot some guns at lunch. And he's like my boss. He's like paying me.
Yeah.
So we go take like a 3-hour lunch to go shoot guns.
That's your lunch break.
That's my lunch break.
Dude, I figured you'd appreciate this being from Texas. You probably saw a lot of the sleeveless America shirts.
We don't wear American flag shirts though. Texan flags.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're a Texan, it's like Texas first.
Okay, right. Like
because you know
the Republic needs to split off on its own situation.
Right. The Republic of Texas, right? There's like growing up in Dallas, there was this park called Six Flags over Texas, and there's one in California, and it's like the Six Flags brand, and people don't realize like that's from Texas because Texas has Six Flags.
No way.
And I don't know. Let's see if I can name them. Spain, French, Texas, Confederate, United States. Oh, I don't know what the sixth one is.
Come on, man.
I don't know.
These are the six.
What? Six flags that have flown in Texas.
Like
in the land of Texas. I'm gonna totally get a bunch of crap.
Interesting.
It. I'll remember it in the middle.
Okay.
Of our discussion.
Well, look, Ginger, look it up.
Yeah,
my producer.
Can you look that up?
Yeah. So, when did you live in? What year did you leave Texas? I guess is it good?
I left Texas over a decade ago now. So, I left Texas in 2012 without my family.
So you were an adult.
I was an adult. Yeah. Well, you know, physically, I don't know about mentally.
Yeah.
No, I was 30 something, young 30s, lower 30s, which I'm, you know, I should be lying to make myself sound younger, but no, I was 30 something, young 33. I don't know. I don't want to do math right now. And 2012, moved out there because I had kind of like freelanced out in LA. And then I was like, man, I never want to live in LA. LA sucks. Just because I need some space and I don't like big cities.
Yeah.
But then every time I went, I kept like learning a little bit more and more. Because I would go to like, the coolest place I ever went in LA was Pasadena, which is pretty freaking cool. Now that you've kind of been there, right? Like that's where we rolled out to that Jack in the Box.
Right.
Which that whole area burned, by the way.
Right. I want to come back to that too.
We can go back to that. Yeah. We can talk fire. So anyway, the coolest place I'd probably been was like Pasadena. But like predominantly I was in downtown LA, Hollywood, just freelance working. And then I'd get back, go to LAX and fly back home. And I'd be like, man, Hollywood, you know, LA kind of sucks. And then I would like creep out and start finding all these cool areas. I'm like, oh, actually, LA outskirts is pretty amazing. So when I was young, do you remember the movie Encino Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, dude. Brendan Fraser, right?
Brendan Fraser. Watching Encino Man is what made me want to move to Southern California when I was a kid.
Okay.
Because I was like, that is free. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Just like the mystique of California. And like anytime, do you remember in the 80s and like early 90s when you were like, I don't know, this is like boy culture. You'd go to the store, like the mall, and remember the posters at like Spencer's Gifts or whatever, and you like flip through the posters to put in your room.
Yes, sir.
And like half of them were highly inappropriate. For my family, I wasn't allowed, you know, and I'd be like, oh, you know, and then
you'd have to like find them in the tubes, right?
Yeah. So along with like the, you know, typical like girls in bikinis was like the sports car posters.
Yeah.
And I remember like the Ferrari poster, like it was like a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and something else parked in a home in Malibu with like palm trees. And so I bought that poster. I went to like A7, pulled out the poster, hung it up on my wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, California.
And that was it.
That was what
Dang.
originally drawed me. Yeah, drew me, not drawed
Yeah.
me. Drawed me. I'm from Texas.
Yeah, dude, it's okay
drawed
around
me.
here. We can talk weird. Yeah.
Nice tangent.
So you have an interesting mix then of like these core values from Texas, probably. I'm making some assumptions here.
Oh, no, you're right.
And and Arizona's to me very close to this, don't tread on me sort of state.
For sure.
A lot like Texas. There's some other states kind of springing up that way, but Arizona's always been kind of Western, and free.
Yeah.
And so for me, like moving to Flagstaff, it's very progressive in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
The university is very progressive.
Totally.
And it's like pocket of Democrat progressive ideas.
And it feels like it's gotten more in the last like decade for sure, right? Or is that just an assumption on my part?
Yeah, no, it has. Arizona has. Arizona's gone from whatever. When marijuana went up on the ballot, it was like, I don't think this is going to pass. There's just too many red pockets. Mm-hmm. And then it slowly, like a lot of the red states, kind of went 50-50, So it's a lot like Austin, I guess, would be in Texas.
Right.
Austin is like this pocket surrounded by a bunch of,
I went to school in a pocket of I would call and you'd never say this to a Texan, but like to explain it very easily, like a mini Austin,
okay,
north of Dallas called Denton. And it's like a little same type of thing, like a little liberal college town.
Yeah.
But it's cool because it's kind of like, and I don't know Flagstaff. I feel like when I first came out to Flagstaff, I think it must have been like 2010, it felt like that, like liberal school, old like cowboys that have been there forever, and then you got like the professor class, the education class.
Yeah.
So and then like hippies that just never leave the college town.
Yep.
So they just hang out. That's the town that I kind of landed in Texas.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of like academic bubbles too here at the university, where like insulated bubbles of ideas that don't ever go out. And I'm from like southern Arizona, which was very like gun-toting, like immigration. We had illegal immigrants running through our yard. There was more border patrol than there were cops. It was a very like weird place to grow up. And then coming here, I like flipped the other way and went complete hippie for a few years, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And then now I've kind of come back somewhere in the middle. So, do you feel a little bit of that, like coming from Texas and then living in California?
For sure. Like growing up, well, first of all, it was hard to explain to people growing up when you're from Texas, because I traveled a little bit, growing up quite a bit, because my dad, I call it my real dad, but my biological father, I never lived with him. Like he was gone by age 1.5 or 2, military, pilot, typical, just on the road all the time. So anytime I would visit him, he would be in a different part of the world or country or whatever. So, but yeah, I would travel and people would be like, "You're from Texas. Do you have like a horse?" I'm like, No, we don't have horses. I live in the suburbs, But, so I grew up in Dallas, which was very much new money, very, almost even more than Houston at that time. But Houston and Dallas were very metropolitan, very fast growing, lots of money, lots of industry moving in. And it's only been exponentially more in the last decade, right?
Yeah.
With tax incentives and all that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I grew up, I tell people like, they're like, "Why don't you have a Texas accent?" I'm like, "Cause I grew up watching TV and I have a TV accent just like everyone else, and I didn't grow up in the country. I grew up in the suburbs."
Yeah.
But I will say, like, we all had family members in true Texas, right? Like in the hill country or out in, near Austin. I had a bunch of family in Austin. I actually only moved to the Dallas area when I was 5. I lived in the panhandle of Texas, which is that like Top Hat section. Thank God my parents moved out of there. My mom was a school teacher and she had decided like this would not be a good place to raise kids, and got a job teaching school in the Dallas area. And so, cause there's just, I'm no shame on people that lived there, but it was a dead end community out there, I think the biggest thing around was a slaughterhouse. You know, you drive by and be like, "Ooh, Mom, that smells." And I remember my grandma was like, "That's the smell of money." You know, like,
Whoa.
you know what I mean? Like that's what employed people and oil, gas. But all that to say is, yeah, very much like freedom loving. And it's changed with the whole Trump era, right? Like that whole, it's all just like everything has changed.
Yeah.
But it was very much like almost like the liberals in Texas had that bent towards personal freedoms that conservatives had. Like we kind of had that arcing horseshoe of belief system where we believe the same but different, you know, but we don't vote for the same politicians in a way. But like in Texas, it was sort of like, I grew up with a Democrat governor, like Ann Richards in the 90s. It was Democrat.
Really?
Yeah. But after she left, it was George W. It was W.
Yeah.
You know, so... but yeah, I mean, it was like freedom loving, personal freedom loving, you know, don't get in my business. And it's very close to like some of the Arizona vibe.
Yeah.
And guns was just kind of like a way of life, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't really like, I wasn't ever into them. My dad being military, and I guess for a while he was law enforcement. He scared the crap out of me when I was 5 by just handing me a gun in his hand. He's like, "Here, let me show you this." And he fired a revolver into the dirt just to teach me the power of and the danger, you know, and he gave me like the danger talk. And then I never wanted to touch a gun,
Yeah.
you know, until later on, you know. And he did the same with beer, incidentally.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's most, right? Most
You know, like,
dads,
"Oh, you like beer?
Yeah, here, drink this beer."
Yeah. But, you know, it worked on me. Actually, my dad bought me a 6-pack of like O'Doul's when we went camping. And he bought us, because I was like, "Dad, I want some beer too." I think I was like 14. He's like, "Sure, yeah, I'll get you some beer." And he bought me 6-pack O'Doul's. And we're sitting at the campsite. He's just like drinking his beer, and I'm like drinking my O'Doul's, and he's like, "Here, let me open you another one." I was like, "Oh, not another one." You know? And I'm like, "Please, no more."
Yeah. I guess that works. So I've been watching this show, Landman. Have you seen this show? Oh man, and it's all Landman, Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, that's great.
It's all about Texas oil industry.
Okay, yeah.
And I it's too bad you haven't seen it. I'm just curious how like close that is to reality,
That's
or how
funny.
overcooked.
Is it like West Texas, like Midland and
Yeah,
Abilene and all that?
Midland.
Midland, Odessa.
Yeah, yep. It's that area. Yeah,
That's where W is from, by the way. That's where they went and made a ton of money.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think I had some family do the same thing. You know?
So basically, the kind of the storyline of the show is they're a smaller oil company. You know, if you consider oil companies small, they're still like a multi-billion-dollar company, right? They're just not like Exxon and these big ones. And they're basically like negotiating with the cartel to be able to have roads, and because they're both like running drugs through.
Yeah, we're running drugs, and
the opening scene, dude. I won't ruin it for anybody because this is literally the first 5 minutes of the show. But they got Billy Bob Thornton, the cartel, abduct him, and they got a bag over his head, and they're basically like being like, "You stay off our land," and he's like, "Do you know who you're dealing with here? we are way more dangerous than you."
That's funny. Yeah, we own everything.
We own everything, and you are messing with the wrong people.
Yeah,
it's one of the greatest opening scenes in any show. It's
cool.
Taylor Sheridan, who just like everything he touches now is turning to gold. You know,
interesting.
Like,
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, dude. Taylor Sheridan did Friday Night Lights.
Yeah,
was his first, and that talk about like Texas culture, dude.
Oh, totally.
Like, was that? Have you seen it?
No. See, I think they made a show out of it, and I remember getting a song on that back when I produced music.
Oh, I see.
We got a song placed on Friday Night Lights, and I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, this is very Texas."
Oh, wow. So you had been part of producing?
Well, producing music. Yeah. So
and they got picked up by that series.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah, it got placed and we had one on Vampire Diaries.
Oh, nice.
And I hadn't seen it, and I watched it, and like the opening scene was someone getting their head cut off. I'm like, whoa, okay. But it's like one of those like, remember that WB channel where it was always like kind of like B sitcom, like you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Anyway, yeah.
So that's a good segue. So before you got into film and video production, I guess, you did music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Production and that.
That was the love of my life.
Yeah. So for how many years did you do that? And what kind of were you doing in that industry?
Friday Night Lights. Let's weave this together.
Yeah.
So in Texas, when you like music and you're in public school, they like siphon you in. You're gonna play you're gonna play in band, and you're gonna play in the marching band. I was like, oh, really? Why do I have to be in the marching band? I just like music. And so, like, I remember in high school for like a couple of years, I was in marching band.
Is it stigmatized?
So lame,
yeah,
dude. It's super cool, like the culture. But as far as like band is cool, but marching band is not cool. It wasn't cool for me. It wasn't something I was into.
Yeah,
I mean, and we could talk about my physical issue later when we talk whatever. But like, it actually was painful, you know, doing marching band. And I was like, I just like music. Why do I have to march? You know, and anyway, so like, because football,
Good
like
point.
all roads lead to football in
Right.
Texas. Like high schools have stadiums, like full on, like, you know, you walk in and it's like what you would think of as a college stadium. Here, it's a high school stadium.
that's wild.
Yeah,
And everybody from the town goes, right?
Yeah,
even
and
if
so
they
it's
went
like-
to the school or not.
Yeah, totally. And it's like the suburbs, because now everything's more of like a suburb now in these huge metropolitan areas. So it'd be like maybe they share stadiums, so they're even bigger in some parts of like Houston or Dallas or Austin. And so I mean they fill them up. It's crazy. So yeah, and so it's like band, marching band, Friday night, you're marching on the football field, but it's like intense competitions too, which is hilarious. So anyway, I was like, I just want to play rock and roll. And so I quit marching band and started playing bass. I played trumpet in the marching band, started playing bass in a rock band. And it was funny. I joke that I quit marching band to get more girls, you know? It's like playing bass in a rock band gets way more girlfriends in high school.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, it opens your pool opportunities.
Band, there is the band community.
Right. That's the pool of
That's the pool.
girls to choose from.
I wasn't into that
Yeah.
personally, but anyway. So I was really into music. I grew up, my dad that raised me, my stepdad, was a DJ at one point, and like right out of college, and like a country station in Texas, you know, in the early 80s. And he was like an old kind of like late blooming hippie, kind of mid 70s college. Wasn't really a hippie. He was kind of post hippie, but like really into like all that rock and roll era. I grew up on that vinyl. And so that was like my school that I listened to, my education system of music. And then I grew up like extreme Christian fundamental. And so I wasn't allowed to listen to like secular music is what they call it.
Yeah.
So like I had that, but my dad, somehow that was allowed. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I kind of at the time was like, the Christian music they made me listen to was lame. I was like, this is lame. Like I kind of knew it was lame.
Yeah.
And it was like rap bands called like DC Talk. It's like three white dudes like rapping about
Dude,
it's funny. But
it wasn't like cool metal, like Christian metal music.
I mean, it
like,
got
As I Lay Dying.
Dude, like Christian rock got cool
Yeah.
in the like late 90s because like they had to. They realized there's a whole customer base of like kids that couldn't, their parents wouldn't let them go to regular shows. And anyway,
Side story, I got hoodwinked into listening to Christian metal. I thought I was being like all demonic and cool and hardcore. And then I watched a video. Well, it was like a decade and a half later. I watched a YouTube video about this. It was As I Lay Dying.
And you're like, oh wait, they're Christian metal.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about this last time. We
that's
might
amazing.
have, but they were. But then the guy got in trouble for putting a hit out on his wife, the lead
Oh
singer.
jeez.
So it was like
It's like Righteous
a
Gemstones.
full bait and switch with his own band.
Yeah.
So he essentially like rode the coattails of the Christian rock era and then was like not an okay guy and ended up going to prison.
Oh my
So it was this whole, emotional thing for me up and down of like, is it or isn't? Am I being tricked into listening to religious music or not?
Welcome to the industry, my friend. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, it's wild. But yeah, I grew up on like all that cool old rock, you know? And then I realized where they got inspired from, by jazz and blues, like roots music and then country. So I became like a musical, like anthropologist in a way, in my own way. And then I actually took some classes in college that like opened my mind up to that. But that's like when I was like in middle school. I was like going to the mall though and buying like I remember I bought Blood Sugar Sex Magic, like Metallica, like
Chili Peppers?
yeah.
Yeah.
Chili Peppers and
Yeah.
like Metallica and Justice for All and the Black Album
Yeah.
as like cassettes, but I hid them in my underwear drawer.
Dude, that must have been.
And I remember I'd go out with my Walkman and like ride my bike and be like, yeah, Metallica,
Yeah.
And I remember like with like the Chili Peppers, dude, going from like Christian household to like the Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which is basically like a sex funk album.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Totally.
like, anyway, it was just like mind opening.
And for those kids listening
Oh,
that
yeah.
don't know what a cassette tape is,
Yeah,
it's
this
a
is
little piece of
vintage.
plastic, and a Walkman is
Dude, all the kids know it now. Those are like just
they've-
like our generation collected vinyl.
they've come back around.
They're like, yeah, Gen Z's like doing mixed tapes now.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
no way.
Yeah,
Old like digital cameras and mixtapes.
totally. Yeah, that's the thing. Digital
Okay.
cameras, like DV cam, all that's back.
I take it back then. Holy shit.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm
Thanks
drawing
for the
this,
update, by
I'm
the
drawing
way.
this way out. Anyway, so I go to college. No, so I grow up and I learn how to do sound and work with music and all this stuff. And I'm like actually getting paid to do sound when I'm like a teenager. And then I go to college and I decide to do business school, but I'm playing in rock bands this whole time.
Okay.
And I just want to be an artist, like Radiohead was my favorite band in college. And so I want to do like art rock and produce, these incredible art rock albums. And then I get my degree. I don't walk the stage. I wound up playing. I remember I played a rock show the night of my graduation. And my mom was so devastated because they wanted to come out to my graduation, business school graduate. Immediately after business school, get an interning at a recording studio, which by the way, the recording industry is like in full tailspin at this time.
Okay.
Analog to digital conversion, right? So Pro Tools is now becoming available.
Okay.
But also Napster, right? Like I am actively destroying my future career. I'm like downloading every song on Napster. And so I get in, I'm like cleaning toilets in the recording studio and serving coffee. And they're like, hey, do you know Pro Tools? I'm like, yes, I totally know Pro Tools. At that time, it was totally unaffordable, even though I spent all my money in college on music gear and music technology because I had a pool cleaning company that got me through school. But I spent every dime on like computers and software and instruments. But it was like I couldn't afford Pro Tools still. It was like premium entry level, multi-$1,000 investment, $20,000,
Really?
Yeah.
20
Yeah. I mean, I guess like back then, maybe it would have been like
for the software.
5,000,
Yeah.
like low end.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So like way more than like digital editing software.
Oh, yeah.
Like Premiere Pro was like $1,000 or $2,000 at that time or something.
Yeah. I mean, it was significantly.
Wow.
Well, back then, Avid was kind of the same deal. So DigiDesign and Avid merged. Avid bought.
For video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avid was like the Avid Bay, It was digitally powered editing. But anyway, so I'm like in the recording studio. I said I knew Pro Tools, but I didn't. So I like cleaned toilets and took the Pro Tools manual home the first day. And like I remember like shadowing someone like in the big SSL room, like 96 channel SSL that Brian Wilson owned, And,
What does SSL mean?
It was like an analog console, like actual mixing board. Like remember, I don't know if like you look at old pictures of recording studios where they had like huge mixing consoles. Like,
Yeah.
So this thing was like, it took up, I mean, it was probably like, no kidding, 15 feet wide,
Whoa.
in a room. And you're like,
Just all
so you would
these,
have to have an assistant to help you. And it had digital recall with like 5.5-inch floppy disk you could put into the computer, and it would show you like all the potentiometers and faders, and you'd have to visually like move them all to set up a session. So I was helping do that. And then that would be like, then you would run Pro Tools through that console. And then later on, people just mixed in Pro Tools and had this big console for show only. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, then I got offered like a position, and it was like, hey, we'll pay you about $12,000 a year. And I was like working my ass off, dude, like 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week in the recording studio, and then still doing my pool cleaning job, like my customers. And so I remember I was with my wife at the time. We were living together, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't. Oh, and we were having a kid. And so I basically bailed out and started producing radio programs and doing live sound. And anyway, that's how I got into music. And then I realized, oh, rarely do you ever run into a band like Radiohead that you get to engineer or produce.
Right.
It's mostly like CEOs with money that want to, back then that wanted to live out their dreams and play hair metal still and paid you a ton of money.
Oh my God.
Or rap, like gangster rappers that brought like coke into the studio, and you're just like, and like laid their gun on the table, and you're just, oh shoot. It's like 3 a.m. and they're like, turn it up, man. And you're like,
yeah,
or just, and then there would be like country or gospel. And I wound up working with all the gospel acts.
Yeah.
Because I could speak their language. They had all the best players, like the top, like, especially in Dallas, like killer jazz musicians. If anyone knows like jazz, like Snarky Puppy, that group, they were all like gospel players. They came from UNT, which was the college I went to, which is funny. It's like one of the #1 jazz schools in the country, just randomly in Texas.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then I built up a whole like career in that, and then realized doing live events that I basically had a limited timeline on the audio side, just from like hearing and the amount of work. And then I realized production management made way more sense from just like a career path.
Yeah.
But also just I joke in my house, we're full of artists, and it's like, what degree of my brain is artist and actually like logician, can I have a logic to my art, my brain as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have like a 50-50 brain where I can be an artist, but I can also like logically think through things. And so I naturally gravitated towards the production management side, where I can speak the artist language and the technician language, but also speak business and, management side of things.
Yeah. You're diversifying a little bit.
Make shit happen.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's a little more future proof too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, well, and your documentary just came out publicly, Hidden in Plain Sight. Yeah. So congrats on getting
Thanks
it out publicly.
A lot. Yeah, finally.
So we'll play the trailer for the folks on that.
Thanks. You think of LA, you think of Hollywood and traffic jams and lifestyles of the rich and famous. It's one of the most populated areas of our country. And within a stone's throw, you have one of the most wildly diverse mountain ranges, and it's right in the middle of everything. The Santa Monica Mountains mean so much to me. This is my home, and I want to share it with my friends. So I've created this route that I've been working on for a few years. This is the best of the Santa Monica Mountains. I've invited some of my closest cycling friends, and we're going to do this route together.
A lot of these trails have been used for thousands of years by Chumash people.
You're only going to get through a hard journey if you take it one push at a time.
You have to take advantage and also appreciate what we have. It's not to be taken for granted, for sure.
When you've pushed through a challenge like this by yourself, it's an incredible experience. But when you've done it with others, it's absolutely magical.
Yeah, so the music in that was pretty good too.
Yeah, it was. I mean, music's still a huge part of
how much
everything I do.
Did you have your fingers in that? I know there was a music producer.
So my editor was like basically the music, supervisor, you could say, of the film. But we had a lot of conversations about this. We're doing the same thing with Stagecoach. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
But like where it's like I have the feel and almost like a, you have, when you're trying to make these things happen, you have the original idea that you kind of like put on a, either a pitch deck, or you have like a vision board, in a way where it's almost like, and I do a lot of Google Docs where it's like, hey, check out this film, check out this Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk, the feel. And it just turns out that me and my editor have a really good relationship. He also kind of grew up in the same way I grew up, and music was a huge part of his life through college as well. And then he figured out that editing provided a nice actual outlet for him to make money, because like in a band, you're not really making good money. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And so he's a musician, but one of his musician friends is also a film composer. So we all teamed up and just, man, everything they brought me, I loved. And they did such a good job weaving like a character narrative through the music.
Yeah.
So if you notice when you watch the film, I mean, a lot of films, it's not like we reinvented the wheel or anything.
Yeah.
But you have a character and maybe the music follows, right? My son's actually studying to be a composer right now.
Okay.
So he's gonna compose some of the Stagecoach stuff.
Nice, dude.
But yeah. Anyway, it was an honor working with those guys and everything they turned out, because you see stuff in the raw form. It's such an incredible journey when you build a documentary, and it's a labor of love, but it's also a grueling process, right? Because especially low budget, you're there usually on set in the field, doing the interviews, capturing the moment. Then you have to review the footage.
Yeah.
I just reviewed all the Stagecoach footage.
Yeah.
And I have a rough timeline. It's 9 hours. So I'm like reviewing hours and days of footage that we just did.
Yeah.
And so then you're just and for me, it was the same in the music world because I used to have to edit and then mix. I hate that. I want to, in mixing is more of the creative, like editing process, like a video in the music side. And then the footage review and the assistant editing in a documentary where you're just logging footage, you're like looking for the moments, and then you hand that over to an editor. So I'd rather hand that over. I'm just a big believer in a collaborative art form. My strengths don't lie in the editing process. My strengths lie in the story idea, the conception, speaking with the different talent, interacting, that sort of like one-on-one human interaction that you need to film a documentary. And then the logistics side of it, like planning and like, how are we going to get to A to B and get cameras here and there. I love that. And then I'm kind of cooked after that, honestly. I'm kind of completely blown.
So with Hidden in Plain Sight, there were components of it that I'm sure you wanted to include in the story before you filmed it.
Yeah.
So there was like the fire, the land use, land acknowledgement narratives. They're like these, static components that with or without a story that happens with the bikepacking journey, those are still going to be there, right? And still pieces that you wanted to tell.
The bikepacking journey was just like the method we were able to tell the story.
That's what was so interesting about the piece is like, it's these micro stories within this bigger, the bikepacking journey was just kind of the, through line.
Right.
And then
the thread.
all these like sub stories.
It's like the bus, and we have like all the bus stops.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to think of it. It's like we're taking this journey, or we're taking you. So get on the bus, we're going to go on this bikepacking trip. Let me tell you along the way, it's like a tour of a city or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the notable bus stops was the mountain man that lives in the sand hut.
Oh yeah. That's my homie Ian, dude.
Yeah. That was a cool little side story. But the fire thing was really interesting. And fires are just like, because this was all filmed and produced before the most recent big California fires.
Right. Yeah.
And, you could call it like foreshadowing or whatever, but you guys just live with fires in California. It's just a part of life. Right. Yeah. And so that was an interesting, like, seeing it in hindsight sort of thing. You saw it, throughout the process. So, but I'm watching it like as an observer with the fires that have just happened. And,
in a way, like that was all intentional, but very hard to pull off, because I think I had to lay down some of because I've done a lot of documentary filmmaking, but not for me. So just for other clients, right? Like fundraising and corporate and whatever, nonprofit.
Yeah.
And it's usually there's a clear mission. And so I'm like a third party hovering above, and I can be like, oh yeah, here's what we're going to do. Boom, boom, factory, done. And the idea came about during COVID. And I was like, oh, I finally want to do some art for myself again. And I want to do a documentary. I want to tell the story about where I live. Oh, I want to tell the story about fire. I want to tell the story about my friends. I want to tell the story about the land and where it came from. I want to throw a little history in there. I want to tell a story about resilience and overcoming it, adversity. So it's like a freaking pot of all these little micro ideas.
Yeah.
And so in a way, I kind of approached it from an artist standpoint and kind of had to throw out my logical brain. And now I'm back to being able to do both. But I feel like I kind of just dove into it. Just like, well, let's see what happens. Because there was like no stakes.
Right.
And so we kind of had to like form that along the way. Like, man, how are we going to get to all these different stories? And I feel like we pulled it off. I mean, it's, I feel like we said a lot and we kept it interesting. That was the goal, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to have but I mean, I'll say like the thread is and always was like, the idea of resilience, right? And I guess it's just like this fascination I have, whether that's through endurance sports or, my art, filmmaking. It's like this wild thing that we have as humans to deal with adversity that's thrown out at us and our ability to overcome it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That always was like, I guess that's like my life mission right now in whatever way that is. I don't know. I'm like I'm finding it out for myself, through like racing and doing these, whatever. I'm like trying to feel like I'm a racer out there, and then through filmmaking and then just like my personal life, I'm just trying to like come to terms with that, I suppose. And it was actually a very therapeutic process to make this film because of that, right? Dealing with like my personal issue that I honestly didn't even want to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, it's kind of your coming out to the world.
Yeah, totally.
You have Spina Bifida.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I feel like people might think that's all I talk about now.
Yeah.
But if you go back, because, it's like the typical story that people want to hear about, like, oh, you have no calves. And, because if you see me on a bike, I don't know if that's how but like, typically on one of these races, someone will be like,
that's how I first
hey dude, what's up with your legs?
Yeah. That's how I first met you on CTR, dude. The first day I was behind you and you were talking to another rider and you were talking about it. And I was just kind of listening into you guys. And then we ended up,
hanging out.
Next shot, we were at the, that resupply store.
Oh yeah.
Taking turns going into the bathroom.
Oh yeah. That bike ranch.
Yeah. The, Cathedral Ranch.
Cathedral Ranch. Yeah.
Is that, Cathedral?
That place is awesome.
Yeah. That was the next time we connected.
Yeah.
You caught me on that and then just so on and so on our, but I realized like at first I kind of was like, oh wow, this is an inspiring thing. Like you're super inspiring. But then I kind of was like I don't want to get like bogged down by that. Like Gregg is this whole other thing of like just this amazing person. I don't want to stroke your ego too much, but like the one thing that just I can't stop thinking about is that you have lots of reasons why you could pull a victim card. People pull the victim card for way less things.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All over the place. And I see it all over the place and it drives me nuts. And you're like, just like, I'm not going to do that. You like refuse to do that. And you're one of the most savage bikepackers. And it just it just does not make sense to me sometimes. Like when I'm watching you hike up stuff, I'm like, dude, this is like an inspiring thing to circle back to what you were talking about. Like, our ability to persist.
Yeah.
As people.
I think.
And overcome odds.
Dude, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the first time that we had a podcast, we didn't even talk about it. I didn't even realize we didn't talk about it until I listened back. I was like, oh, we didn't even talk about my generic Gregg story that I have to talk about.
It didn't
now.
even matter, dude.
And-
Like, well, we were both like half in the
I don't think we
bag,
we formed like a half brain between us because of the Escape LA.
It
But
sounded super prolific when you listen back. So go listen back to that episode, guys and gals. But it didn't matter. Like, it didn't matter at that point, right? And
I don't mind talking about it. And I should probably explain what the hell even we're talking about.
Yeah.
But like, I guess the issue is that was a trauma, like a true trauma in my life. That I had to deal with, and I don't think I actually dealt with it until I was like 40 something.
whoa.
And maybe even making this film was a huge part of like dealing with it as well. So I'll say, like, you know, I was born, and in the film I don't really eloquently say it because honestly it was stressful to get interviewed on myself and my own film. It felt very egotistical, first of all. Like, I'm gonna make a film, and then while we're making it, everyone was like, dude, you need to tell your story. I'm like, well, I should probably explain why I don't have calves, because it's obvious when you see me, I stand weird and I can barely walk, you know, in real life, you know? So people are like, hey, what's up with, and usually I'm like, oh, I twisted my ankle. That's what I used to say, you know, for the longest time. But so I was born with spina bifida, the most severe form of it. So my spinal cord was out of my spine into like this tumor thing that they had to like remove. I was born at an army hospital. They care flighted me right away, like took me out of my mom, you know. And then 3 months later, I think is when they did the surgery. But they took the spinal cord, and of course it's 1979 when I was born. Now I think they can do it in utero. But they took the spinal cord and put it back into my spine. And so basically, most people that had the form of spina bifida that I have, you mess with the spinal cord, you're messing with like your central communication system, right? Your nervous system. You know, have you ever met someone who had like a slip disc and they're like, oh, I can't feel my leg anymore, you know, or,
Yep.
you know, or like when we bike pack and we screw our hands up and we can't feel our fingers or our toes.
Yep.
That's me for my knees down. It wasn't that way the whole time though. So I was born, they did the surgery. They were like, hey, listen, he might have some brain damage. He might be handicapped. You know, there's a whole slew of things, right? Like imagine messing with your spinal cord.
Yeah.
Turns out, freaking miracle, right? Like killer surgeon. They didn't mess with the spinal cord in a way that gave me massive nerve damage. Put it back in the spine. I grew up, but I had a lot of issues. So nerve damage is like my feet would like grow clenched up, you know? And so I think like it started when I was like, I think like in like 6th grade, they had to break all my toes and straighten them. And then when I was in high school, I started kind of walking holes in my feet like a diabetic patient, because I couldn't feel my feet. And because I couldn't feel parts of my feet and my bones were like kind of like misformed because of my nerve damage, you know, the ball of my foot would like wear on my foot.
Yeah.
And I would walk, they'd call it an ulcer. You're just like ulcerating your foot and it just can't heal.
Whoa.
So then like a diabetic patient, number one form of death for a spina bifida patient is infection.
Okay.
And I didn't know this. Hey, like it turns out no one actually talks about spina bifida to the people like me that have like a killer recovery. So they don't actually talk to you and like, hey, you're going to maybe deal with issues. So I'm like, my mom just like, you're fine. And I probably should have been going to more doctors and stuff, but she basically is like, oh, you're a miracle baby. You're good. Do whatever you want. You're awesome. You can do anything. You were born in the 80s. If you were born in the 80s, you can do anything. Right. Like that's what we grew up. Our parents, you can do anything.
Yeah. You can do anything.
So
You're a shooting star.
yeah, definitely a shooting star. So I'm like rewinding back to marching band, standing up for hours, like walking freaking holes in my feet, being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And
wow.
by the way, I'm the worst like sports person ever, because I'm like totally I'm like baseball I suck at, soccer I can't run, you know, we're doing like the mile in PE, I'm like I can't run a mile.
Yeah.
I didn't like I had calves. I could stand up on my toes back then. I could flex my calf. And no one said like, hey, you have the potential that this could change later on. So I didn't know that. So I'm like going through college, and then I had like my small business, and I'm like, man, I really need, like, my number one doctor was my podiatrist. Cause I would be like, come to him. I'd be like, I have an infection, doc. And he'd like, oh man, you should have come to me where, here, let me give you a penicillin shot. And man, you could have had your leg chopped off. You need to be careful. So I get through college, and of course, like a lot of things, you get a partner and they're like, hey, you need to take care of yourself. So my wife's like, hey, you should probably like stop walking holes in your feet. So I had like bones removed. I got this really horrible job when I got out of college selling news back to PR companies. So we would record the news and I would be like on the phone and sell like to my PR contacts their footage of someone slipping in a JCPenney store.
Oh.
So they could monitor, because like we could monitor all the major news outlets across the country.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey, do you want the coffee spill from McDonald's from Spokane, Washington? And yeah, give me a copy of that. Anyway, but that company was horrible. But I had 100% insurance.
Okay. Yeah.
Coverage, because I couldn't get insurance pre-Obamacare. I just couldn't even get on a risk pool.
Nobody would insure you.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you got like the worst pre-existing condition known to man. We're not touching you.
Whoa.
So I finally had my last surgery when I was like 23. Removed I have my fifth metatarsal removed, so I can't walk a hole in my foot anymore. I didn't remove it on this side, so I still have to check this foot from time to time on like Grand Loop, CTR. Like, did I walk a hole in my foot? But
that's so insane, dude. What does that look like? I mean,
it's just like a bruise that starts.
Okay.
But if that happens, I got to really, and that happened last year before Grand Loop in this crazy Escape LA recon I was doing.
Yeah.
Because fast forward all these years later. Sorry, I'm going way too long. Like, I don't have calves now. Like, I lost control of the use of my calf muscles. So all I can do is this. I mean, this is my range of motion. That's it. And I can't stand on my toes. So I have no calves. So, but, when I was like 30 something, I was in recording studios and producing and doing events, and you're like always closed up in the dark all the time.
Yeah.
I went to the doctor because I was like, oh, I have health insurance. I should probably like go to the GP and see what's going on. And they're like, hey, you're like critically low on vitamin D. Like, do you ever go outside? I'm like, no, now that you think of it, I don't.
Your editing cave? Yeah.
And so I always loved riding a bike, man. Yeah. So I bought a bike. No, I revived my bike. It was like a GT Avalanche. And it was a 3x9 mountain bike, 26er. And I started riding gravel roads in Texas and would go further and further each time. So that's how I got into cycling. And I realized like, oh, it turns out I could kind of be an athlete.
Yeah.
If you eliminate the thing that doesn't work, right? Like, I guess you don't really need calves to pedal a bike.
Except last year you chose Arizona Trail, Grand Loop, and CTR, and Escape LA. But Escape LA is mostly pedalable. But there were some remarkable hike-a-bike
Some
sections.
people might have some words about that.
Yeah. But you pick these races that are like hike heavy.
Yeah. Because I wanted to be confronted with my kryptonite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was turning 45 and I wanted to like...
And you completed them all, yeah?
Yeah. 300 ITT. Did it in 3 days? 3 days? I don't know. Go to I don't know. 3 days and a handful of hours.
That's fast, dude. That's fast, people.
CTR, Grand Loop, faster than my goal. I forget what the goal was, but it was, not as fast as freaking Andrew Strimke and Matt Annabelle, but I felt fast. I don't know. I got like
outliers,
something place. I don't know, whatever, 6th place or something, 5th place.
Yeah.
I don't quote me. I don't know. There was like an hour mark that I really wanted to hit, and I got below it. So I was super happy.
Yeah.
Tons of hiking, which is awesome. But I highly encourage the Grand Loop. Do the Grand Loop. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And then CTR, which is a freaking hike fest, right? Like, and that's the one that had haunted me for the longest time. And I felt like I really just had to do it, you know, because I might not be fast at hiking, but I could still do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I could still finish it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of variables, right?
There's
so
a
it's
lot
not
of
just
variables.
hiking, and that's
Yeah.
the beauty of all this stuff.
It's like a very much high level bike packing. Do you know your shit? Do you know when to stop, when to push, when to what food to get? And
for CTR for
it's
any
very
of them,
critical.
but like any of those races, sleep is going to be a factor
For sure.
You know, like I slept more than most people,
Yeah.
but I moved faster during the day, but I took more downtime, and I slept horribly when I slept. I should have just not slept. But
Did we both sleep at like 12,000 the last
dude,
night before we didn't sleep again? Yeah.
I went and looked at it, and
That was so stupid.
I almost caught up to you. I literally could see you.
Oh, so
And
we were
when you
both
got up
just
and kept
like,
going.
Oh,
Yeah, we both slept in a really dumb place for recovery.
But it was warm.
And not
I
very
will
windy,
say
yeah.
I stopped because the wind stopped and it was warm. And I was like, all I could think about was like, nothing's going to be open in Silverton and it's going to be freaking frigid.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, maybe it was a good idea.
I think it prepped us for the end.
Yeah.
We you know, I self-destructed for a couple of minutes there on the very, very end on Indian Ridge.
Dude,
but
we
like,
both self-destructed, and I self-destructed on the
later on
the end.
Yeah, the end. Yeah.
End.
Yeah, we had to tow each other there at the end, but and then you go and just completely smoke everybody else on your race, Escape LA, which was just incredible, dude. Incredible effort there. Like,
Thanks.
I mean, it was and
It was home field advantage.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I try to say that with Pinyons, but like it never works out that way. The sleep monster gets me, dude. I'm kind of over not sleeping.
Dude.
I'm doing like 4 or 5 hours a night. That's what I did on Ride Across Arizona was 5 hours a night. Then I had some kind of lung thing happened. Like I was like having some trouble breathing the last couple nights. So I put in like an 8-hour sleep at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Just like I was not interested.
I want to hear more about that because it felt like I could tell you were battling something, and I couldn't tell if it was like the weather, like the heat, the cold. Because I mean, you got both on that thing.
Yeah,
right?
110 at the start on the first day. This was like
Just a little
it was
warm.
like AZT kind of change of weather, you know. 110, I was like completely trashed, cramping on the way to Baghdad. Baghdad's this like old mining town. Well, it's an active mining town.
Yeah.
Freeport McMoran runs it, but it's like a mining town. You know, you go to the bashes in there, dude, and talk about Neanderthals.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, it's a special place to be. But I was trying to get up the road to Baghdad, and I was literally cramping, and I was like doing like the robot move. Whoops.
Just like having to stand up on your bike.
No, I was like off the bike, like trying to like keep it together.
Yeah.
And like mining trucks were like stopping because they all have the flags on the back, like the safety flags,
Yeah.
so you know the mining trucks, and they
Oh
were
my
like
gosh.
stopping, like, "You okay, dude?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't,"
Oh.
because so the first 80 miles was no water, so it was like an 11-hour water carry right out the gate, which is just like
With 110.
yeah, which is longer than AZT 300,
Yeah,
like
it's a
longer
lot.
than the beginning. There's at least a couple little spots there.
Yeah.
So I started to ration and I got behind. And normally when I get behind, I just cramp bad.
It's
and
hard to-
then it takes me forever to get back out of it. And so that was like day one. And then by the end of it, let me go to the middle part real quick, and I'll keep this pretty short. But like, so I pull out of that. I get through Flagstaff. That was my kryptonite, is like being close to home, and I'm actively trying to.
That's
like,
why I text you. Don't stop in Flagstaff.
I know, dude. You said
Multiple exclamation marks.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for cheering me on along that too, man. It was, that was great. So I got through that, and then I did the pizza call ahead. Similar to the one on the Arizona Trail.
Really? They got another spot?
Yeah, there was one at Forest Lakes. I wasn't able to get to Forest Lakes in time, so I called ahead and said, "Hey, can you guys leave a pizza outside and some sodas?" And so that worked out well. But then
That's cool.
And I had gone through a controlled burn area that day, which will come up notably later. But I think I inhaled some smoke. I don't know. I'm like looking in hindsight now. And I got to Forest Lakes, got the food, got on the rim road, which, by the way, the rim road from like Payson over to Sholo is like this 100-mile road that is just, it's like a forest road, like a high mountain forest road with, ponderosa pines. But then there's these stretches of this road that are just river rocks. Like God just dropped all these river rocks there for, like, picked them up from the desert and just dropped them in the middle of this road. It's the strangest thing, dude.
Like smooth
river rocks. Just like a half
Do they like
mile
clank
of river.
under your tires and
It's
you like
just
slide
the
around?
rowdiest shit ever, dude. And I had a full suspension. I was like very thankful. Wouldn't change a thing on that setup at all. Like, it was the perfect setup. But anyway, I camped like halfway down Rim Road that night, and I woke up the next morning. Well, so that night I was in my bivvy, and I hear something large come out of the forest. There's a campsite, a road across the way, and something large animal comes out of the forest there, and I'm like, oh shit, what's my bear move here? Because like
something rustling.
The further east you go, the more the bears.
Yeah.
The black bears are a real problem. Like Sholo and that area of Arizona, like way more of a problem than Flagstaff. And I shine my light. I'm like, am I gonna yell? What am I gonna do? Or what's my bear move? It's a horse. It's a wild horse. Like, come on, just staring at me. Come on, man. Okay, so I go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and dude, I feel like I was kicked in the chest.
Ooh.
Like my sternum, I can't take in deep breaths. Like my diaphragm's sore. Like, you know how you get like muscle soreness?
Ooh.
My diaphragm was sore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like
Overuse, maybe?
So I spent 2 days in aero bars, and I'd never spent that much time in aero bars. So maybe just not taking full breaths, being too tight. That was one theory that I was,
Right.
I had all, how like little seeds of things grow into these big things. Yeah. Good or bad.
And then you're on the bike thinking about why is this happening?
Yeah. So I had like myocarditis. That was one of them. Like from COVID. Like my heart was going to explode. That was one thing I was thinking was going to happen. What was the other? So there was some other ridiculous thing. Allergies, like some sort of exercise-induced allergies or something that I had never experienced. I mean, I couldn't breathe, and I was at like 9,000 feet on part of it. Yeah. So fairly high up, but not like CTR, right?
But still, I mean, when you're, I don't know, I guess you live at about 7,000 feet.
I should be fine. I should be okay at 9,000.
It's like you live in a hyperbaric chamber. Anyone that lives in Flagstaff is like, you got your hyperbaric chamber.
That's why there's Olympic athletes.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. It blows my mind anytime I come here. I'm like, God, monsters live here.
So anyway, I finish. I pushed through these breathing problems. There was a point where I was going to go to urgent care in Sholo if it got worse, or if I started coughing stuff up or whatever. Who knows? Could have been a cold. Could have been whatever.
Do you think it could have been like, what you know how like, okay, so if you're a nose breather, a lot of people get like the shredded nasal like nosebleeds, and then I've noticed a lot of people that are mouth breathers get the shredded throat. Do you think you were like just breathing so much you like chapped your lungs?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that was part of it. Because the last morning I woke up with a horrific sore throat, and I was mouth breathing all night. I was just like,
and then you're stuck mouth breathing because like it only compounds too. Like when stuff like starts like dust and like
and the last fire. Night it froze. So so my water filter froze. All my water bottles.
I saw a
froze.
picture. Yeah. Oh no.
It rained on me. It snowed on me. So this was like
That's
huge
the last night.
Polarizing weather, right? And so and my dad was going to pick me up at the finish. He was going to be there no matter if I finished that night or not the next day. So I just was like, I'm going to hunker down. Yeah. Glad I did because it rained on me and then it snowed and then it froze.
Dang.
Like the weather was way worse than Colorado Trail, right?
Yeah.
Like
crazy.
It was like crazy. But anyway, so I get to the finish a couple days later. I'm like kind of retracing my steps, and I look at the map and I look at where I camped on Rim Road, and it was the Travis Walton alien abduction site.
Yes.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. Is this the what's the movie?
Sky?
Yeah, Fire in the Sky.
Fire in the Sky, dude. Yes. So this was one of the first alien abduction movies I watched.
Dude, I remember watching that thing on like network TV.
Yeah.
You know how you could like, it was always for me like Channel 21. They would have like the old like Friday the 13th shows that edited, that edit all like the nudity and out. And like, I watched that show when I was a kid. And I was like, freaked me out.
Yeah.
Cause you like see like, they do the whole alien scenes where he's getting like worked on. I couldn't even think about watching it again. Still to this day,
It's freaky. And dude, that's the only explanation for what happened. I've come to that conclusion. I got mouth
you got
raped.
full traked by the alien.
Yep, by the aliens at night. And who knows? I might have a chest burster at some point come out. I don't
never
know.
know.
Because, the aliens have moved on from anal experiments. That was like
figured that out.
1970s.
Yeah, they figured
kinda
that
stuff.
out.
Yeah, they're going through the mouth now. So anyway, that's what happened. That's the only explanation.
God.
And no, but it was kind of cool to be near the alien abduction
Heck yeah,
site
man.
from
All the
Travis
spooky.
Walton.
I love doing like I love bikepacking through all the spooky. I like being in a weird. So you talked about like sleep deprivation, and as I'm getting up there, I'm also getting. I don't know. I still love not sleeping. I have a problem where it's like I want to just push myself and not sleep.
Yeah.
But then I mean, when you're done, you're like, you look at yourself in the mirror, and then the recovery time as you get older,
Yeah.
like it's legit, like serious recovery time. Because when I started doing this, and we kind of talked about this last time, I was like 35, and like I still think I'm Gregg that's 35,
Yeah.
trying to get better at bikepacking and ultra racing, which I'm getting better at,
Yeah.
but in an older body.
Yeah.
And so like last year after Escape LA, dude, I think just compound,
Well, how many hours did you stay up for on that?
50 something.
Jesus Christ.
But dude, it was like AZT 300. I only slept like a few hours, maybe. And then Grand Loop, I slept more than I wanted to. First night I slept I should have not slept the first night and just gotten Kokopelli done.
Yeah.
Like Andrew did, and a few of the guys up front. They didn't sleep, and they only had to deal at the very end. And so by the time I got into Fruta, Matt Annabelle did a smart move, and I thought, damn, that's a smart move. He got a hotel for a couple hours. So I did the same thing. Just got a hotel room for 2 hours, got naked, took a shower, got naked, laid on a bed with the AC blasting me.
Yeah.
And I still didn't need to cover. I was like overheated.
Yeah.
But I waited for sunset. So I was like, okay, sunset's in this time, I'll be 2 hours. So I left Fruta in the sunset and I didn't sleep again. So I would say like, I don't know, maybe 5 hours of sleep total Grand Loop, which shredded me, but not that bad. But CTR felt pretty good, actually. Even though we didn't sleep the last 30 maybe hours.
Mm-hmm.
We finished. I slept the next day, and I felt pretty good the day after and the week after. Escape LA. Okay, so over 2 days. And then that last hike a bike and some of that last single track took so long. Longer than I thought it would. Plus, I didn't know that I was as far ahead as I was. Remember, I thought Brian was chasing. I thought he was right behind me.
Right.
And this kid's a monster. And I'm like, I'm ahead of the monster, you know?
Right.
So I was like, definitely the ego got in the way. Like I was wanting to win at that point.
Yeah.
But I probably could have slept and I would have felt way better. So not sleeping 50 something hours. So all that compounding through the year last year, dude, right around Thanksgiving through New Year, I was sleeping 9 hours a night.
Yeah.
Like not even
That's what you should be sleeping
10
anyway.
Dude, 10 hours a night. Like for real. Like
Yeah. So it had this like really delayed effect.
it was like jet lag.
Yeah. Like months of jet lag.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
You
gotta
know,
listen
I don't
to your
know.
Body, dude.
we'll see what happens with Pinyons.
Yeah.
I, don't really plan on sleeping.
Yeah.
Because it's like that distance, man. It's so tempting.
Dude, did you watch? You watched Matt's? Yeah,
I did.
Yeah,
it tempted me even more. I'm like, dang.
Matt's like a top 5 guy for sure.
Yeah, that's why I text you. I'm like, this
Yeah.
dude's like legit fast, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm like looking at his times, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I can do. Again, last time I came to Pinyons, the first day hurts really bad coming to this elevation.
Yeah.
Um,
So what
don't
part
know.
of the course is like you worried about, or do you have any
The most
things that?
dude, the I think the one I'm worried most about is after Sedona,
Yeah.
that climb.
Kasner.
Um,
We've never gone up Kasner.
I mean, it doesn't. I kind of liked it the last Pinyons. I liked climbing back up to the plateau.
Yeah.
I enjoy climbing
The other direction.
but
Yeah.
it was like the other side, right?
It was counterclockwise.
Yeah. But what I'm most stoked on is the northern loop.
Yeah.
But I'm also coming into it very respectfully because I know there's nothing out there. I mean, I know you guys did the cache,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
But I've never ridden anywhere near that. So I'm definitely got a healthy respect for it. Like I've done Coconino, I've done some messing around out here, and I've done Pinyons and Pines in 2022. So that first part of Arizona Trail, I'm really stoked on
Yeah.
getting to the lake store,
Lake Mary Country
Lake
Store.
Mary.
Yeah.
I'm like stoked on that because I know that's amazing part of the AZT, right? And then south of that, there's there's gravel after Lake Mary.
Yeah. Pretty much gravel.
But that area north of Lake Mary store is awesome.
Yeah.
dude.
And like the stuff right out the gate that you're going to be climbing that's new
Yeah.
is Oldham, Upper Oldham. It's new and it's incredible views, dude.
Cool.
Of the mountains, and people are really going to start to be like, that's the part I love, is like that new energy at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then just people trying to hammer up, and then it just,
Yeah.
people either
People are going to blow up.
rise or blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the way to the summit.
I'm going to try to not blow up.
We're doing those mandatory summits, which
Yeah.
is also new, which has been something kind of we thought about for a while. And we've, it's
I think
always
it's
like,
cool.
do we want to do a time bonus? But when you do a time bonus, nobody ever really does it.
No one does
So
it.
let's make them mandatory. And there's some of the coolest views. So
Yeah.
there's like the real purpose
I love that.
driven climbs. They're not just like, here, we want to make you suffer a little longer.
Right. It's not just to bag a peak. It's
Yeah.
like a killer.
Like the
view.
O'Leary climb on the second half is it's like you're looking at a different mountain range.
Wow.
It's incredible. Yeah.
I'm
That whole
stoked on
top
that.
half is so good, man. It does look like there's some 30% chance of weather.
I know,
So
it
this
keeps
podcast
changing.
is
I'm
going to
like,
come out
"Ah."
afterwards. If you stay on track, you're pacing, you should clear the weather
We'll see.
by that time, unless you have some kind of other issue that slows you back
Yeah.
down. But,
That's,
Matt's time was 48 hours and 20 minutes.
yeah.
And we had to reroute.
So we're cutting some off what he did, right?
Yes. So, which we're really sad about, but with the decision we have to make. So, interbasin, waterline climb. So, what happened there was we heard that there was a problem, that there was some construction happening on that road. The road's owned by the city. It's within Forest Service, but it's the main water line that basically goes from the interbasin and puts the water down to the city water table.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So the city is in charge of maintaining
Yeah.
the road. So apparently the city didn't tell the Forest Service that they had to do some emergency construction up there.
wow.
So the Forest Service contacts we had no idea it was even happening. Matt texted us.
He's like, "Hey."
the road's gone. This is going to be a problem. He had to talk to 3 city workers just to let him through.
Whoa.
And so they're basically it must have either been a landslide that they had to go up and repair, or they had an emergency repair on the water line or something like that.
So they're just tearing the road out.
Road's
It's just-
gone. There's a
yeah.
backhoe in the middle of the road, and it's dude, we can't send 70 people
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
Maybe they can get through. Maybe they
Right.
not. That one government agency's not talking to the other
Yeah.
one.
That could be a cluster you don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
So which sucks because that literally is one of the top 3 climbs and areas.
Yeah.
Interbasin, that whole area, when it comes to the volcanic, theming of the whole thing and this whole volcanic area. But we basically stay lower. Point is it cuts off 1,000 feet of climbing.
Yeah.
And a few miles. So it'll be faster.
Yeah.
Way faster.
Yeah.
To get to that second half. So, Matt's time is going to be the bonus. I don't know if
Yeah.
we'll
It's
give him a
kind of
bonus
cool.
time
Someone
or
that
whatever.
fast did it. So
Yeah.
we can all kind of look at it.
But it's a benchmark under 48 for sure.
I
So-
definitely got his times up that I want to look at. I don't know if I can get anywhere near him, but
Yeah.
for me coming out here, just from Southern California, the first day is always brutal, and then
Yeah.
I start lighting up that night. My body starts kind of coming to a normalcy.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
can start pedaling, and then I get stoked on night riding and just
Yeah.
weirding out, and the forest, and
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun. Like the goal is to get to Maverick, you know.
Dude, Maverick.
I
asked them to sponsor the podcast, by the way.
dude, they should.
I don't think they're
I scoped it out today.
multi-billion-dollar marketing company or whatever.
All the money if there's one thing we spend money on, it's the gas station.
Dude, no shit.
Because we're a hotel. I'm like, on the way here, I'm like, I'm going to go for that $100 hotel because it's just like, I'm by myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Who cares about a $100 motel?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say hotel, motel. But like you walk into, like in the middle of this race, I'm going to walk into Maverick. I'm going to throw the card down. I'm not going to look at what it is.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, that thing's going to be $100-something. Whatever. I don't care. I need all the gummy bears. And I didn't see we're going to have to talk espresso shots.
Oh, yeah.
After this. I need to,
Yeah.
I need some.
That's the move. They're by the coffee creamers.
I went
Allegedly.
there. I went
you didn't see 'em?
I didn't see what you're talking
Which
about.
one? That one? This one
This
in
is
town?
publicly available knowledge that you gave everyone.
Yeah.
So I went to the gas station.
This one in town?
Yeah, and I went to the coffee bar. And I
You
was
double checked my espresso.
like, hey man, I do my research.
This episode with Gregg Dunham is brought to you by Maverick.
Maverick. But now
Home
they
of
have
the Moab burrito.
They do have some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like and I guess I came in at 11:30. All the pizza was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
So let's hope in the morning they've got the breakfast burritos, dude.
Yeah, so now what is it?
Dude, they have some. Is it like biscuits and gravy burrito
Yeah,
or something like that?
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Sorry, my brain was nuked
They've
when
got
I
some
got
weird
it.
burritos.
Biscuits and gravy burrito.
Yep.
Doesn't sound good. Most incredible fucking thing I've ever eaten in my life.
They've had some. I've taken some legit burritos from them before and been like, actually, this is a pretty good burrito.
I got one on Raz called the Moab burrito, the mother of all burritos. Yeah, dude.
I love
Yeah.
it.
It was the move. That was probably the world's windiest Maverick though. Over there in Sholo, it's like in this open field area.
Just
it was
completely
just like
desolate.
yeah, dude. Yeah. That was a windy trip. But it was just moody. That whole trip was just moody weather. So what about your bike? What do you got going on what's the plan for?
Dude, I'm riding my old blue squishy bike. I did that on Escape LA. It's my full suspension. I mean, dude, it's like an old pivot
Yeah.
Mach 429.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But because I have, usually I do a hardtail titanium.
Yeah.
But man, just with that amount of single track. So I changed it from what I took a picture of and sent you.
Oh yeah.
So I have the full sus with these micro aero bars from Ritchie
Okay.
because they have this foam tops and it's an awesome hand position too.
Okay.
But like they're not really they're aero, but they're not really aero. But I figured just all these different hand positions will be nice because the last time I came out here, my hands suffered a lot from just one position.
Yeah.
And I had carbon bars on my tie bike. And after I put the tie bars on the tie bike, it changed everything.
Really?
And Andrew Strimke told me, he gave me the whole like wolf tooth grip intel, which I'm totally into the wolf tooth grips. Cause I remember I finished, I was like, man, I just wish I had like
The fat paws?
pool noodles. And he's like, dude, you need to get fat paws.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have fat paws. I like those. Those are my thing. Fat paws and ergon saddle. Just that's what I always run no matter what.
Heck yeah, dude.
So fat paws, no bar ends. Usually I have the King Creek bar ends. Not doing that because I'm doing the Ritchie little teeny tiny arrows.
yeah.
And then I got a vest and not much else.
How much water capacity?
4.
Okay. Yeah.
4 point something.
yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, water's pretty prevalent.
I figured I figured it looked pretty good from the start. And I'll just plan on hitting the Lake Mary store and topping up and get some snacks and then we'll fully re-up in Sedona
Yeah.
and then get to Maverick
Yeah.
and then really tank up there, baby.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
yeah.
you have to.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then just pedaling. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'll feel good, that second morning.
Yeah.
And I can just get that north loop with some sun and just kind of enjoy the views and
Yeah.
have my Vision Quest experience out there with my
Dude.
sleep deprivation and just, yeah.
Time gets weird out there, man.
I imagine.
Dude,
I
mean,
imagine.
it's like a snapshot back in time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that whole area with all the volcanic activity and SP crater,
Yeah.
Ship Pot crater.
That's cool.
Shout out Ship Pot crater. where they like do the NASA freaking
that's
training.
Cool. Is
and
that
stuff.
is that a blowout volcanic crater, or is that
Yeah.
a? Because on the way in, I saw meteor crater. Is there a meteor crater here?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's different. Yeah,
Different crater.
different situation going on there. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a meteor strike.
Yeah.
That's like a mile wide. It's just east out of town.
I like that.
And then, near in town, you have Sunset Crater National Monument, which is
Yeah.
all volcanic, which we're going to go straight through. And then SP Crater, which is a blowout. Yeah, like a Earth zit,
Yeah, man. I mean, look, people. Sedona has the vortex. Maybe there's something like you got like you got like an asteroid strike. Oh no, you got a meteor strike here.
Dude.
You got the Grand Canyon around here. You got the vortex.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of.
Isn't the vortex on the airport? The Sedona vortex.
I think one of them is.
How many vortices? How many
Vortices.
vortices are there?
4 prominent ones.
Whoa!
Maybe.
And that's wearing the American flag cut off shirt, and you know where the vortex.
Yeah. Get you weird.
I love
Get your guns, bullets shoot sideways.
That's right.
Curve around corner. No,
I mean,
man,
I do a lot of recreating in Ojai.
You know what happens, dude? Is the trees grow in a spiral.
Yeah, man.
Look for it.
That's
when
how
you're
you
down
know?
there. That's how you know, man. Look for it. They'll grow in a spiral. I'm serious. I'm serious, dude.
It's the pool, man. It's pulling you in.
I have to pee.
Me too.
Can we take a break?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I have questions about
Oh yeah.
Stagecoach. We'll be right back. And we're back, folks. Speaking of sponsors, I have some things for you.
Holy moly.
We got some Embark Maple Energy.
Oh man.
Okay.
This stuff's awesome. By the way, you gave me some of this after Escape LA.
Yeah.
I used it on a gravel race.
Yeah.
I lived on it. It was awesome.
Did you try the elderberry?
I had all three.
Okay.
It was killer.
Excellent.
The coffee one's killer too.
And then these new Squirrel's Nut Butter packets, these like single-use packets.
Dang. Okay.
There's that, and then
Which after the last issue I had,
maybe you can get your peen under control with the frankincense. Put some frankincense on your peen.
does it have frankincense?
Yeah. Dude. So here's a whole bag full of it.
Thank
So
you so
it's all
much.
yours. Yep.
Yeah, you're awesome.
So enjoy that. Yeah, maybe you'll have better luck with the old chafe situation.
I adopted those. Being from Southern California, when you talk Lululemon to me, I listen, right?
Oh, is that like your magic special
well,
sauce?
You told me you have Lululemon.
Yeah, I used them on Raz.
And I'm like,
no chamois.
I'm like, dang, should I go for the full on suburban man? And
Ponytail?
dude, they're really comfortable.
Oh, you tried them?
I've got a pair.
Those
and they have
Sense Knit?
and you can wear you can wear them without.
Yeah.
But you feel a little breezy. I mean, I feel like a yoga mom with my junk. I mean, it's a little more.
'Cause you're just owning it.
It's a little more revealing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't say. I mean, it does compress it quite a bit, just for everyone to know.
It's got a nice junk pocket.
But you're definitely. It does. It has a pocket.
Yeah.
It's super. They're super comfortable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a chamois, which
Yeah.
I love. But the thing that got me, and it doesn't have a line in the front.
Right.
So the liner that I had on Escape LA, there's a freaking line in the front.
Like a
and that's
thread.
a seam.
A thread seam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what got me
It doesn't have those.
all the way down. It's like it was bad.
Yeah, that's a problem.
We don't need to talk about that anymore because we went into that. They can go to podcast number whatever
Yeah.
to hear more about that.
But those shorts, I used them on Raz.
Yeah.
And when I combined them with the Squirrel's Nut Butter, I carried an entire deodorant stick of Squirrel's Nut Butter because this is the longest I've ever been in the saddle.
That's a lot of saddle time with no chamois too.
Right. So CTR, I did it, and I was
you're hiking.
It was a gamble,
Yeah.
but it was a calculated risk because there's so much hiking. This was like 20 hours a day.
That's full
5 days in a
commitment.
row, 4 days in a row. Yeah. So I brought a entire full size deodorant stick of Squirrels, and there's two notable things there. I applied it maybe like once every few hours, maybe 4 or 5 times a day. Just like applied the shit out of it.
Right.
Just like kept it on there. Right.
Because I'm a firm believer it's the salt that causes all the problems.
Yeah. And so those particular
Which is the bacteria, then
Yeah.
that's avalanches into all the.
But like those shorts, they're so porous.
Yeah,
That
they're really nice.
You get a lot of airflow in there.
I've
Yeah.
been riding, so it was kind of warm the last few days in
Yeah.
in my area. I was riding with just the shorts. I'm like, woo. It's like
You get
I feel like
airflow.
I'm doing something illegal out there on the trail.
So, so the only problem with putting that much squirrel's nut butter is it just goes right through those shorts. And I was wearing these Patagonia Dirtcraft pants, and it just looked like I shit my pants the whole time. Like there was just a brown thing on the back of my pants.
Brad from they call him Ricky Bobby, you know.
Oh yeah,
Brad.
Yeah.
He told me a really funny story. It was either on I think he told me after Grand Loop, and it's his to tell, but he was doing the AZT 800, and he had done the same thing. Like his shorts like looked like he shit himself because of just like dirt, and he had a big ring, and he was like found himself like I think outside of Flagstaff, like walking the aisles like completely cracked, and someone was like, "Buddy, you doing okay? You shit yourself?" It's
Really?
just like in a gas station, like out of it,
All
and just like a
zonked.
big old poo mark on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he told me all about it.
That's awesome, dude.
It's just funny.
Yeah. So, that worked well. Other than that
Just a
part,
big grease spot on your pants. Yeah,
but whatever. I mean,
it-
the Forest Lakes
it-
bar people didn't care.
it
very
totally
much,
doesn't
dude.
matter after hours. I like how like in these events, your sense of what is appropriate in public completely goes out the window.
Yeah.
By the end of it, you're just walking in, you don't give a, you just like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's caught me a couple times negatively. When I was in Iceland, that got me in trouble a little bit because there were some proper European
Bring the American
travelers.
cut off.
Dude, Dana can talk. Dana had to back me off this. I almost got in a fight with this French lady because I was like not quite being fully sanitary at the buffet. And we were like out in the country.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people go to Iceland.
Oh yeah.
And tour like Europeans.
They
will
do like the
tour.
driving tour.
The driving
Yeah.
tour, and they'll stay at these like hot spring.
It's kind of bougie. It's
fancy
like the bougie
hotels.
Euro tour. Yeah.
And then I'm just like in full like fucking.
You walk in,
bikepacking
you leave.
mode.
You're welcome.
I'm like putting stuff in my things, and this lady got pissed at me
Team
for
America.
like double dipping on something. You know,
yeah.
whatever, dude. It was fine. Everybody would have been fine, but the lady got all pissed, and you could tell she was mad. Like just the minute I walked in, because she just glared at us from across the room. Like,
Well, and you,
who are these
I mean,
dirtbags?
and you pretty
know?
much know Americans, like when, like Europeans pretty much know you're American
For
the
sure.
moment you walk in.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't
like
matter if you're
a
in
giant
bike costume or
neon
not.
sign.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I'm a American, and you know, I just so that's got me
Culture
in trouble
clash.
there. So I like bikepacking in these places where it's like, you know, you can kind of people don't give
Own
a
it.
shit. Like the Jack in the Box in Altadena.
Oh, dude. It's
Is
the
it still
best.
there? Did it get burned down?
I think it did not get burnt down. Don't quote me on that because I actually haven't been to that area because I didn't want to be one of the like, let me go down to the burn area, you know.
Dude, like that whole Sunset Trail.
Dude, it's
Did
gone.
all that get?
I'm actually working my next project that I'm going to shoot is a project with the guys that do all the trail maintenance out there.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of them lost their homes too. They lived in Altadena. So the Mount Wilson area that we came up and over,
Yeah.
that whole front side.
Yeah,
so
with the
Mount
observatory.
Low, Mount Wilson, it's all toast. I'm not sure the exact fire lines.
They saved the observatory, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was
for
like
like
a
the
big-
second year in a row. I mean, it keeps getting saved. It's like the story that keeps happening. And then in the Santa Monica's where we finished, that whole area torched. Like that bridge melted, you know, that we finished on.
Whoa.
That whole area torched. I rode through there after like around the first of the year. I guess it was technically closed. I didn't feel too bad. In our area, stuff gets closed and it's like they don't tell you it's open and then the sign stays up for another year.
Right.
But anyway, it's it's a moonscape, dude. It looks completely different. It's kind of cool. I mean, I hate saying that when people lose their homes and businesses.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in Hidden in Plain Sight. It's kind of the norm for our area. It's just happening way more frequently. So it's good for that chaparral and that coastal range to get burnt.
Yeah.
And it breaks down and it rebuilds. Not good that frequently because the fire, one of the fires we talked about in Hidden in Plain Sight was the 2018 Woolsey fire.
Yeah.
That burnt like 90 something % of the Santa Monica's. And so when you rode it, it had fully come back and then all the chaparral was back. Some of the trees were back because the oak trees, they burn, but they live. They're resilient. We told the story about that.
Right. Yeah.
And then, but yeah, then But this last one just completely torched all the chaparral in that area of the Santa Monicas. I mean, it literally looked like a moonscape.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wild, man. I don't want to get too much into
Yeah.
the politics of that. I was curious, but I wanted to go to, I watched the other film you made about the West End Trail Alliance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And loved it, man. It was
Dude,
great.
I want to put, so I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I want more people to see it because what they're doing out there is freaking amazing. Shout out to Tim.
Yeah, dude.
Shout out to Paul Koski, the guy that freaking helped create part of the Grand Loop that people are going to ride, here in a few days. Tim brought the Grand Loop back, and that's what brought me out there originally. Was the Grand Loop, the mystique of it. And Tim and I kind of became friends through doing Stagecoach, and then he brought the Grand Loop back when he moved to Nucla. And when I went out there for the Grand Loop, we got to talking. I mean, you go out to the small town, there's just nothing out there. It's like an ag town in the middle of Western Colorado. And the only reason they're there is because the turn of the century or late 1800s, it was this group of socialists broke out of Denver and created a socialist commune in the West End. We don't go into that in the documentary.
Yeah, I missed that part.
We didn't go into, I mean, there's so much to tell. I
Yeah.
mean, we only had 15 minutes. So, they created like this water company, and they dug a freaking ditch to irrigate this entire place in the West End called Nucla. And it's like this water area, like lush area now that they can grow stuff in this like high kind of deserty area. But anyway, they have an incredible community of people out there, historically built around that originally, like people coming out and forging their own way and doing agriculture. And then it boomed around, uranium mining. And then the money that was put into uranium because we were building bombs was huge. Like the government, that's where some of their uranium was mined to build the first bombs.
Yeah.
Was in those areas. And so, because you have to extract a ton of uranium to break it all down to highly enriched uranium, et cetera.
Yeah.
Whatever. But then nuclear power and building bombs. And then with the kind of crash of communism and nuclear power right around the mid 80s, right? Like there was a huge crash in the economy. And then they lost a power plant. Actually, there was a coal-fired power plant out there too, which employed a lot of people. So they've had hit after hit out there. And I just wanted to tell the story of the common thread in my life and stories I like to tell is like story of resilience and people just overcoming, against all odds, overcoming and doing really cool things and having great stories to tell. So it's really cool what's happening in the West End. And they'll say, hey, listen, recreation isn't what's bringing the economy back, because there's a lot of ranchers out there that still need, ranch land because we're still eating burgers,
Yeah.
There's resource that's still being mined, right? Gas and minerals and all kinds of stuff that we're still extracting. We talked about that last time a little bit.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, we still need that stuff.
It reminded me when I watched it. That was the most interesting part is like all this stuff. Up here, it's all logging roads.
Yeah.
It's all old logging roads that
Yeah.
have been turned now into forest
Right.
fire management roads. But
Totally.
originally were all cut for loggers.
Right.
Arizona down south, it's all mining roads.
Right.
All the stuff on Mingus, it's all gold mining. All the
Right.
Jerome stuff, like we're recreating on the backs of like environmental destruction, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And we just
Yeah.
have to remember that when we're out and enjoying this nature,
Totally.
it's not a great story in the past, and we just have to accept that that's the way it was, and
Yeah,
we
and
can do
it's-
better moving forward.
And I think in this, we also wanted to honor that past.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm honoring like the physical destruction of land, but a lot of this community has roots in that. Like
Yeah.
they're not out there. They prize the land they live on and recreate on. And in a lot of ways, they treat it better than anyone would treat that land.
Yeah.
But it's real. Tim was really critical in speaking with the WEDA people, West End Trail Alliance folks. It was really important to tell a story that reflected how important becoming a part of the community the West End Trail Alliance is. We're not like coming in here, we're going to tell you how to run things because of, like Tim's new to the area, newish. But someone like Paul, he moved out there in the early 80s, and he's been doing nothing but good projects to build up recreation and trails, because he firmly believes, these communities are better off having recreation within their reach. It's an accessibility issue. Like, it's not all like in my area, we have a lot of really amazing trails. Well, that's trails for suburbanites, and Flagstaff has amazing trails. Well, it's trails for Flagstaff area.
Yeah.
But these areas, you have really low income people that live out here. And the cool thing is you have some folks that are new to the community and old to the community, and they want to bring a trail system out there that embraces history and moves forward in an ethical way that brings additional people in, but doesn't create like a Moab situation where recreation just takes over the entire thing, and you just bring in people that kind of like don't care about the community and they just want to recreate and leave.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like this intricate story that we wanted to tell in an appropriate way. I feel like we did a pretty good job, because it's not because of me, but it's because of, I think, the job they're doing as a trail organization to really fold into the community. Like Brock out there, he's now the president of WIDA, and he's got a bike shop that's across the street from the bike pizza beer place.
Right.
But he, on his spare time, is like creating the mountain bike team for the high school kids. And I'm out there filming them, and they're all in like jeans. They're like in their Wranglers and high tops riding mountain bikes that they got donated.
Whoa.
So these kids, like, it's funny, like they're living in mountain bike history. Like, where's like the first bikepacking race started from, and we're like, some of these arguably where mountain biking kind of like formed itself out in like this Moab and Western Colorado, and all they know is like ranch community. And what happens is they leave, right? They go to college, they make money, and they leave.
Yeah.
So how do you keep folks around? Well, you build a community through doing other shit besides going out and drinking beer, behind the whatever,
bleachers.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing cooler things, and you're finding different ways to enjoy the community and the environment around you. But anyway, it's not out officially.
It was easy to find.
I hate saying that. Yeah, just Google. I'm hoping I want to do an article and really release it.
So tell me about the Stagecoach stuff. You had an opportunity to do a bit of a passion project for Stagecoach.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Stagecoach.
This is the Stagecoach 400 bikepacking race.
Stagecoach 400. So coming up through the, bikepack race scene in, California, the West Coast, there's only a few, races out there, not races.
Yeah.
Race, not
events.
Race. Event, not event.
Yeah.
Ultra racing scene, right? Like, my first ultra race was the Tour de los Padres. Pretty underground, still is underground, no social media, nothing, like just a website. It's pretty cool. Awesome race. I think I've done it like 9 different times, and I've taken a break from it the last few years. But and then Stagecoach, I think I did like 6 times.
Dang, dude.
So Stagecoach, I mean, it's up there with AZT, CTR as far as how long it's been going on. Like, oh gosh, don't quote me on how long it's been, how many grand apart. I think the first grand apart was 2012.
Okay.
So it's not as old, but it's up there.
Yeah.
It's one of the original self-support bike pack races.
Yeah.
And it's really changed a lot, but it's also, I feel like it's a story that needs to be told, because it's sort of like, in my mind, I feel like I'm like the second wave of bike pack people, racer enthusiasts, like you had like the OGs, like Jay Peterberry and all these folks, Kurt Refsnyder, even though he was like super young, like Hefe, like all these guys that were out there doing those early, Scott Morris, like all these early events, Esther, all these like early events,
Yeah.
And then like people like me that like happened upon bikepacking.net and was like, what is this?
Yeah. Totally.
And got super stoked on it.
Yeah.
and then found out about Stagecoach. And so I wanted to tell the story of this culture, this community, this event, not event, this clash of people kind of like in this period of time that we're in this. And Brendan just wrote an awesome article for bikepacking.com that's probably will be out by the time this comes out, but it's about like the evolution of this weird sport, you know, and how we've seen it change. And it used to be just a bunch of old dudes show up, you know, and it really was super racing oriented. And now it's like a little bit of everything, like all different types of people, younger, like a lot of younger folks are doing it now.
Yeah.
Different faces, different types of people. It's really cool now, right? Like Pinyons and Pines is another example of like all types of people coming out. Stagecoach is probably, for me, probably the most diverse field of bikepacking, probably because of LA and Southern California. But Meg, I think, does a really good job of like just opening it up for all types of people.
Yeah.
From all backgrounds. It's also super accessible because you have like, you could always bail in San Diego.
Yeah.
Or, you know. So it's super accessible, but it's also really freaking hard. Like you got to go through the desert, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to tell this story while we still like, or, you know, have like our health and our physicality and this desire to throw ourselves against the machine of whatever this is of endurance and to see how we do and measure up and then commiserate with our brothers and have our sisters and have this bond of like putting ourselves through these tests. I wanted to show that, you know, that testing of endurance, but also how amazing it is that communities are formed through that. And Meg just, you know, and it's something that honestly, I didn't think I'd ever be able to do because the aversion of media and bikepacking, right? Like, and I think, and I know it affects the way people perform. And so last year, Meg and I were in Death Valley together. And we were kind of chatting about it. And she's like, man, actually, Brendan and I would really like for you to do a film on Stagecoach. And I was like, really?
What?
Like, you would be into that? And so we talked about it for like a year and talked about the most ethical way to do it. And it was just kind of like, oh, we talked with a few people and maybe they could support it. And with the bike industry where it is now, no money came. And so kind of at the fall, after Escape LA, I was like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to do it. We're going to make this film. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And so Meg and I talked and we decided to kind of like make sure we honor the idea of it. Yes, media does affect people when they're out on the course. Like it will give you a bump. You see a guy with a camera or a gal with a camera, you are going to stand on those pedals and mash harder than you would if no one was there with a camera.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, one of my camera operators was like, oh, I see what you're talking about now. Cause we had a whole like ethical meeting, like how to shoot this ethically. I can talk about that little bit, but basically it was like, cause the first day he's like, oh, I see what you're talking about. Because he's like, someone doesn't see me and they're like, oh, you know, out of it. And then they see me with a camera and they like get a different face on.
100%, dude.
So 100%.
Yeah.
So it does matter.
Yeah.
Having media on the course.
Right.
But so Meg and I talked about what is the most ethical way to do this? Well, hose the whole thing down. Like everyone gets coverage.
Right.
You know, and inevitably, and I've already gone through the hours and hours of footage, there are stories that are popping through and people are going to have more, you know, airtime than other people.
Yeah.
That's just the way it panned out.
Right.
That was not intentional. But the idea was we're going to put 3 crews out there and have an ultra racer in each crew. So we all know like what people are going through. Mm-hmm. We also sort of know, not sort of, we know the rules, not rules of the ethics behind a self-support, not race. Stagecoach, not a race.
Yeah.
And we kind of approach that in the documentary too. We talk about the whole like not a race thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, we made sure, and everyone that shot was an outdoor person. So like my partner, so we had 3 crews. My partner, he's an avid climber, mountain biker, and he was just like kind of like really it's so funny to watch someone observe ultra racing, right? And even when you're not racing, just doing this stuff. I mean, it really is amazing what we're able to do.
Yeah.
Like, get on a bike and ride 400 miles nonstop. It doesn't matter if you're super fast or just barreling through, at your own pace.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me. He's like, dude, you guys are gnarly.
Yeah.
And he's a climber. And then in some of our other groups, we had like another canyoneer and then just other mountain bikers and stuff. But yeah, Meg even wound up producing on this and camera operating.
No way.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
kind of funny because, I was hitting everyone up. Like,
Yeah.
hey, who wants to work on this? Because
Yeah.
we got no money. It's
Yeah.
like we wound up getting some money from Old Man Mountain. Shout out to someone that actually, people that support this. So they gave us some money that was able to cover like expenses.
Good.
Which is, no one got paid. So like,
Yeah.
no labor was paid, but expenses were paid, which is
Yeah.
cool.
I mean-
and not all expenses, unfortunately. My bank account's got like blown out a little bit.
I mean, everything is so like tumultuous in the bike industry.
yeah.
Like Revel just went
I
under,
know. Yeah.
and like it's just everything's getting dropped. Like the first layer. So that's great that you got some from
Yeah.
Old Man Mountain to cover some
Heck
expenses.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back to the ethical thing about having a crew on there. It's, it's not individual media coverage.
Right.
So really, I don't know, that's not a big deal. Like, yeah. People get a random boost or whatever. You spread it out as much as possible.
Yeah.
But like, it was watching it on Track Leaders. I'm going to love to see how the story develops.
Oh, it's a good story. It's a good
and
story.
we won't ruin it. But like, anybody can go back and watch the replay.
I was watching it. I was on the edge of my seat, and I already knew what happened
Yeah.
because I wasn't with the crew that was with the front pack.
Yeah.
I was in the desert at the time, and we all had like Garmin's, and we were messaging each other, and we had like a WhatsApp. We were messaging each other, and they're telling me like, dude, what do? We didn't know what to do, but they really did some smart stuff to make the story progress. Anyway, you can see it on Track Leaders, but so I was on the edge of my seat watching something I already knew what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm stoked to be able to play that out. But yeah, I mean, it's also the fact that from the ethics, Meg was she didn't want anyone to know going into it that there was going to be a film crew.
Oh, okay.
So we surprised everyone like the morning of.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole film crew, and like people are like, what's going on? And she's like, so there's going to be a film crew. If you don't want to be in, let us know. Otherwise, our intention is to be neutral media. I wouldn't have chosen that way.
Yeah. Well.
But she, like, it was super cool.
Yeah.
What
was it, just for authenticity?
I think
sort
because
of
she
thing?
didn't want anyone to change their strategy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
She didn't want someone to be like, oh, there's a film crew. I'm going to be, because, like, dude, at the top end, people are like trying to be professional bike pack racers.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they got sponsors. So she didn't want any of those because
Right.
she really doesn't. She's about it being an experience for everyone, because Stagecoach kind of had this thing where it was a FKT hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why she changed the route this year
Ah.
to really tamp that down. And I think we've all learned kind of from Pinyons and Pines, like Escape LA, we're doing the same thing. We're going to change it every year because of this whole, just what you're seeing, like an FKT hunt out there. And it becomes, I don't know, just like the faster people get and the more competitive and more sponsors get involved. It's like you got all these bending of rules and then people complaining and then, oh my God.
It just crosses into commercialization.
Yeah.
And you get ethical issues. And, well, I mean, the changing of the route every year kind of lends back to this original ethos of bikepacking. Like, you're not quite sure, because look, before the internet, before all the forums, before all the beta, before like access to information, these guys that you were mentioning and gals before were just going in blind to most of this stuff.
Oh, dude.
And they were just flying by the seat of their pants. And
They were
that
like
was
paper mapping it,
Yeah.
And they would, when they raced too, like some of the early race rules, no cell phones.
Yeah. On Tour Divide, no cell phones. Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's cool that we have all this technology. And I did paper map. You ever
Yeah.
done a paper
Oh,
map?
yeah, and it's hard.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And I got lost
And
for
you're like-
8 hours one time.
So Grand Loop infamously was paper maps.
Okay.
When they first started, and Scott Morris got crap because he drew a GPS line from a paper map that he did, and then he made the GPS or whatever. So yeah, because those dudes would go out with a paper map and navigate. And the funny thing about the Grand Loop is there's some single track, but not really any. It's all like old mining roads.
Okay.
And so these dudes, you know, in the 70s and 60s, if you read some of those, like, who wrote Edward Abbey, when they talk about driving up the Jeep road and this road, it's like they're just making Jeep roads.
Yeah.
So like you go to a Jeep road and it intersects like 10 different intersections.
Yeah.
And there's no sign. And then you got a paper map.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, so it's fun to keep that kind of original
Yeah,
vibe,
totally.
and you eliminate the FKT chasers, right?
Yeah.
and people still want to go fast, and they
there's
like,
still
people
monsters
like
out
Matt
there.
are still going out and like
Yeah, crushing.
and comparing within that year. But I mean, you know,
It's still a race. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and this was Dana's, I think, boredom, because he wanted to explore. So
love it.
he built a race before I got involved that changed every year because he just wanted to go explore new areas every year.
That's
right.
cool.
And so it was basically just out of like utility
Yeah.
for his own desires or whatever. And then, hey, let's send people out on it. And it's so interesting to see like other races start to adopt it. You know, and for us, it's like we've had this debate like over whether or not, because Doom was a paid race this year.
yeah, you know what? I was thinking about that. I don't know him. We kind of like our internet friends or whatever. But I think because he's like third or fourth wave bikepack racing.
Okay.
So these cats are coming into it from like doing gravel races.
Right.
And they're thinking about it in terms of like, oh, okay, we got bikepacking, we got gravel racing. And I don't know that that's wrong. You know, I like the original way, like show up. And I also like the idea of finishing and no one's there. Like
Yeah.
that's why we did the pier of it. like the Santa Monica Pier, you finish and like you're like just a bikepacker in the midst of all the tourists.
Yeah, dude. Or middle of the night,
Yeah.
3 a.m.
You're like, and no
with the
one,
homeless people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that because those were some of my first bikepack races.
Yeah.
You finish and no one there. No
Right.
one's there and no one cares. And you're like crying because you did the hardest thing you've ever done in your life.
Right.
But I also like CTR this year. We show up and Alexander's making us a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. Feels pretty good.
Pretty
too.
cool. And community. And so I love the
Yeah.
idea of that because sometimes like this is the only time I'm going to see you
Yeah.
or Dana.
Right.
So cool. It's cool to hang out.
Yeah.
So there is like, I don't know that there's a right way or a wrong way. And I think it's cool to have like a spanning spectrum, you know, of culture, right? Like maybe like on one end of the spectrum is, you know, the CTR, you know, and the other end is maybe like a Doom.
Yeah.
Where it's like paid race. And because I will say like, man, like the amount of work that some of these people do, like Tim Tate, for example, I think last year I think we were fully permitted,
Right. There was some permit debacle.
fully permitted. And
Yeah.
then it got pulled and then it didn't. And like, he legit went through all the hoops to make it a legal race,
And not to charge money, just
to make it legal.
to make it legal.
Because mine is completely illegal.
Right.
Like LA, you think I'm never going to get it.
Allegedly illegal.
I don't, it's not even mine, dude.
Yeah. Snakes.
I'm like
race is
Snake.
allegedly
Snake Plissken, dude.
illegal.
But I mean, if you can find him, you can put him in jail.
But what I was going to say about the permitting thing was like the first thing that would go if we pursued permitting, it would be changing the course every year
right.
because you now have to re-permit for a new
Oh,
course.
yeah.
So the incentive is
Yeah.
to keep the course the same, right? And to build multiple courses within and multiple distances within.
Permits equal work equals someone's time equals money.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like if he's getting permitted for Doom, which I think he does a lot of. I don't know. But doesn't he do a ton of stuff to actually get it? I mean, Arkansas is a whole different world. I think they're like giving you money to do bike races in Arkansas. They're like, please.
Right. I don't know the land management details there, in his situation. But I know that when you make someone pay for something, or when you ask someone to pay you for an event, there's a level of expectation that's different. And there's also a possibility that you're going to have to give that money back if something goes wrong. And that's the other part.
There's a whole liability
that I
issue.
talked to Dana about, and I was like, I don't want to do that. If the rain hits and the whole course blows up and like,
come pick me up.
Well, now do we want to have to deal with being like, here's your money back, we're going to figure out how to refund? And no, like, do we have time for that? Or do we could make the time, but we both work full-time jobs, but we're looking at like Cocodona and these running races that have just completely fucking blown up. Arizona Monster 300 that just happened. That's like riding the coattails of the Cocodona.
Interesting.
And it's a different race director, and it went like tragically bad this year. And there was like toilets overflowing, and like there was like water.
Dude, I've done some gravel races where they don't have porta potties. And guess what? Like half of your field, or maybe not half in a gravel race, but like what do the females do at mile 60 of a 100-mile gravel race? Are they just supposed to squat in the field too? And the guys are like,
if you're paying,
dude,
you expect it at least.
And they're paying.
Potties,
you're paying like some of these gravel races are like $200.
Dude, Arizona Monster was $2,200. Wow.
See, that's the.
We're talking about $1 million event. Okay, dang. There's like 1,500 people or something. Wow. At 20.
See, that's why Bikepack racing will never be as commercial as this ultra running.
Here's the thing,
no
dude.
one cares.
We don't have the demand.
I know,
because the barrier for entry is much higher.
Yeah, you got to have
costs a lot more.
Multi-$1,000 bike and all the gear
and all the navigation, and you got to know how to use it all, and you got to have the water filter, and you got to have all this shit, right?
But if you're like a dentist, you can do a gravel race, and you could also run an ultra.
Absolutely.
You just need your Solomon shoes and pack, and
a watch, shoes and
whatever,
a pack, and you can sign up for a 250-mile running race. You know what I mean? And like,
pay $2,200.
No matter what like Pinyons, we watched the registration. It shot up to like 90, and then
we'll see how many show up.
It's back down to 71 right now, and we're sending out hey, there's some openings, and that's every year with the exception of the COVID years. Those are like outliers. You can throw those out. It's never going to have the demand. If it did have the demand, if we had a wait list of 300 people every year, I'd probably be thinking, maybe how do we make this a business?
Right. Yeah, commercial. Yeah, because I mean, there's a demand. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if it's ever going to, I mean, maybe.
I don't think it will. I think that ship has sailed. It would have happened during COVID if it was going to happen. Sure. And it's not going to happen.
That's where gravel is right now. Like,
totally.
Like some of these gravel, I only do a hand, like I did one this year, rock cobbler, and it's kind of like this wild gravel race too, and it's not even a race also. And
I know the one you're talking about. It's
wild. You ride through like a bar, and like you ride through a house one year. And
they did a bunch of promotion for that.
It's fun. Yeah. It's really fun, but it's like there were like 1,500 people there. It's kind of, I'm like,
dang, that's big. Yeah.
But even like bucks. I did, but like, okay, so we did $200 and something, and I did the one they only let 30 people in, like the 100 and something mile.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the other ones were cheaper, but I'm thinking that's still, once you add it up, he's not making that much money on it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like insurance, lawyer fees, even if you have a sponsor, like he has BMC as a sponsor.
Okay.
I guess they're Swiss, so they got a lot of, their bikes cost a lot of money.
Okay.
But
I wonder where we're going with that.
I don't know. It's like the Swiss conspiracy. I don't know. I just looked at the price of their bikes recently. I'm like, damn, they're really proud of their bikes.
BMCs, huh?
BMC.
Yeah, I don't know much.
I guess they have
those.
some lower end ones, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if it's gonna happen, it's gonna be gravel. Bikepacking races, it's like a clash of foundational principles, like the commercialism and like.
And I like the fact that it's a non-commercialized. I like the fact that I can't get enough money to make Stagecoach because I'm trying to. That's the culture I'm trying to capture right now.
Right.
And it might be gone And we actually talked about that. Like Stagecoach might not exist in that capacity in a couple of years. Someone could do something stupid and be gone tomorrow.
Totally.
And that's why we wanted to tell this really cool story of this era that we're in. You know, if you think about it, even these Bikepack races aren't even that old. Like AZT, CTR, I mean, it's not that long.
Right. Yeah.
But it's cool. And it's like this really cool. I keep thinking, my friend Ian, who you said lived in the ground.
Oh, the mountain man.
Who did Pinyons and Pines with me in 2022.
The guy scared of the mouse.
The mouse ate his. Yeah, don't give him my plot.
I'm
scared of mice.
I just remember. Hold on 1 second. I just need to go on a side tangent. The other thing I was afraid happened to my chest was
yeah, what's that?
Hantavirus.
Dude, I slept. I love sleeping in areas people are scared of the Hantavirus because
no, dude, don't do that.
I know my wife. She's like, you're gonna die of it. And then Gene Hackman's wife
Yeah,
just died of it.
dude.
She's like, see, I told you.
Your lungs fill with fluid.
Yeah.
You drown to death. It's horrific.
Yeah, and
dude.
it's like got like very little cure rate or something.
The
like
mortality rate now is like 60%.
It's pretty high.
But that's way high.
if you catch it, right?
When it first hit the Navajo Nation, it was like 90% because nobody knew what they were dealing with.
They didn't know it came from mice.
No,
feces.
no.
Oh man.
And the cases are on the rise in Arizona at least, and in Coconino County.
Yeah.
So I'm like freaked out, and we had
in your garage
rats.
and stuff.
Yeah, and going up into our like grill, and like we live right on a river, kind of a dry riverbed, and the rats
rat
are
highway,
exceptionally
dude.
bad
Yeah.
now this year, and so I had that. Like
I mean, I live in an open space, so my garage. If I leave,
You gotta be careful,
a
dude.
gel
Yeah.
in my bag, it's a mouse problem.
It's-
And
yeah.
there's poop everywhere.
The deer
man.
mouse is in particular the
Yeah,
one that
because they can
will
squeeze through
transport it.
anything.
So it's like, don't mess with that. 'Cause you know what the biggest problem about it is? It takes three to 8 weeks to show symptoms. So it's like
I think I'm still on a timer on one of the last places I slept on a bikepack.
that's so fucking scary.
I
for
slept
me,
in like
dude.
this cabin. We did a
No.
and like like in Death Valley, we slept in a couple of cabins, but
Yeah.
we swept it out, and everyone, and we our tech was with me, Hannah, Simon, Chaz, and Al. Well, like 10 of us like hot dogged it,
Yeah.
like sausage in a cabin, but we swept it out really big time.
Wow.
But then this last one, I was with a couple of buddies, and they're like, "I'm not sleeping in that." It was like like the porch of a cabin,
Yeah.
but it was like kind of enclosed, and it was like really windy. I'm like, dude, I can't. And I swept out the mice poop that night, but I woke up and I'm like, there's still mice poop everywhere.
It freaks me out. Just the sweeping is the problem because it's airborne.
right. Because you like start
You breathe it in.
moving it up. I know. And my wife's like,
Dude, be
she's
careful.
like looking on the calendar.
Yeah, it's like the worst.
I'm laughing about it now, but like cautionary too.
Yeah, it's like the worst STD test you've ever had to take, where you have to wait like.
How like you have to wait, and then something happens, and then you're like, oh, I guess I better go to the hospital.
Yeah,
because I was near mice poop.
You wake up in the middle of Rim Road felt like you got kicked in the chest, for example.
And then it doesn't get better.
Yeah, like so. Anyway, that was
Yeah.
a side tangent. So
That's a good tangent.
Be careful, dude.
This is
Watch out for that.
PSA for
Yeah.
Hantavirus.
It freaks me. Just the name freaks me out.
Hanta.
So okay.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that movie. dude.
Stay tuned for Stagecoach. We'll definitely blast it out there. We're gonna do a fundraiser, kind of like grassroots, to try to get it edited, and maybe some other companies might throw us some money.
Yeah.
Because it's super, and we have a ton of awesome footage. I just need to actually, I could convince all the camera operators and myself. I actually, used my own money, some of my own money, but I'm out now. And, I had a bunch of enthusiasts that were into doing it, but now it's like the editor. I mean, my editor needs money.
Yeah.
The musician needs money, and the people need money to create this piece of art. So hopefully we can raise, do some crowdfunding. And so stay tuned. We'll probably have a trailer out in June.
Nice.
To do a little fundraiser, and then hopefully we can get enough to start editing. Late summer is when we hope to put it out.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, dude, let's go get some food.
Let's eat.
Yeah. Good luck on Pinyons.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch your
I
doc.
haven't trained. I didn't bring any sleeping gear. What's the worst that could happen?
No sleeping gear.
No sleeping gear. Foil.
You're an animal. You'll just have to hang out longer in the Maverick.
The Maverick could be my Maverick bathroom.
Dude, so is there a piece of gear before we go? Is there one thing you're bringing that you're testing or trying new?
No.
Other than the aero bars, maybe those are.
Oh, aero bars are new, but I've had them on for a while.
Okay.
I'm not really into aero. If I am, I like being high.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I did that New Colo race,
Mm-hmm.
it was like gnarly single track, like Colorado Trail single track and Bushwhack single track and New Mexico wild like Continental Divide single track, and then like gravel miles.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the whole like high up. I that's what I originally put on,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just too high for me on single track. It felt in the way. So I got those tiny ones. So I guess in a way I'm testing those out, but like, no, I'm bringing like tried and
Everything.
true tested rain gear, like
Yeah.
all the survival stuff. I
Nice.
just don't plan on stopping. And if
Chamois?
No, I got 2 liners.
Yeah, okay.
Just don't want to swap out. I don't think I'll need a chamois. I mean, the problem is I have a skinny butt,
Yeah.
so I do get pressure sores sometimes.
Yeah.
But like the squirrels is awesome, and I don't even use that much. It's like a little touch here and there,
Yeah.
and sometimes like tea tree like directly. But I
Right.
had that problem last time
Right.
where it was too late.
Cooked it.
Yeah, cooked it.
Cooked the old peen
But
with the tea tree oil.
but no, I'm not testing anything. I don't like testing gear out on. I don't
Good.
think it's wise to test anything other than like nutrition.
Mm.
So not really, but I bought some of those Martine gels. 'Cause everyone keeps talking about them.
Yeah,
but
Morton's,
they're so expensive that I didn't want. I didn't want to try them
Yeah.
yet. I'm like, this
the
is
coveted
really
Morton's
expensive.
gel.
So
the
I don't
160 or the 100?
160.
The big boys.
Big boy.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like, gels are always fine with me. And if anything, these will be even better
They
quality.
will.
So like, yeah, my first day, this is what I do on every bikepacking race is the honey stinger waffles
Yeah.
and gels. And then I start craving burritos.
Yeah.
I'm not going to munch on a burrito for the first 12 hours. I'm not even going to touch, it's just like robot food.
Right.
And then whatever robot food I have left after I hit like Lake Mary or Sedona will be just like emergency robot food.
Right.
So
Cool, man.
yeah, man.
Can't wait to see it play out. So little promotion for you. So Hidden in Plain Sight is available on YouTube.
Yeah, check it out.
You can just Google it or put it into the YouTube search. Also, there's an article, full write-up on bikepacking.com about the film.
Yep.
So, and then at Instagram, it's Hidden in Plain Sight Doc.
Mm-hmm.
And then your Instagram is Gregg_sees_the_world.
See what I did there?
Yeah. 2 G's, Gregg. Also, LABikepacking.sucks.com
Ooh, yeah.
is your race. That's not a race. Snakes
Snakes
race.
race.
Sorry, guys.
Not a race.
Snakes race.
Yeah.
Allegedly, snakes race.
I would highly encourage you folks in the mountains to come give that a try.
Yeah.
And see what LA's got to offer. Some of you Colorado, Arizonans.
Mind
Rugged.
blowing. Dude, it's mind blowing. It was a mind blowing experience.
Steep.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was like, where did this come from? Like all this stuff I thought I knew, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Just that was just it's a fantastic route, man. So hopefully it can stay close to the same, even with the damage that's been done. So, all right, dude, it's been a
All
pleasure.
right. Thanks for having me,
Yeah,
man.
thanks, man. Good to see you. And let's go get some food.
Let's do it.
All right.